He said that Jesus Christ has risen, and he is the open door.
Well, how you doing, everyone? Welcome to this episode of the Cajun Conservative Show, where we talk about life, we talk about liberty, we talk about the pursuit of happiness, and yes, we show the world Cajuns do have intelligence. Hope you're having a good day, good week, wherever you are, because this is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Glad you get to spend some time with us here today. You choose to spend some time to hang out with us here today. It's always an honor and a privilege for you to come and hang out with me. I hear a lot of mainstream media, not mainstream, a lot of big talk show hosts say that, and I feel the same way, because if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be doing this. So I thank you for continuing to support me by listening to the podcast. If this is your first time, please hit the subscribe button, hit the follow button on the platform you are listening on. We're on Apple, Google, Spotify. We're on Rumble. We're on YouTube and on Amazon Music. And guys, so look, I'm gonna start off by saying this. I want to apologize. And I kind of told you a couple of episodes, I think it was like 3 episodes ago, a while back, that I don't trust polls. After the 2016 election with Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, where the polls had Hillary Clinton winning in a massive landslide. I mean, man, it was supposed to be a slaughter for Donald Trump. Donald Trump when people would talk about Donald Trump and they would say, "Oh, you think Donald Trump has a chance?" Everybody was laughing, but polls showed Hillary Clinton winning, and winning big, and we know in 2016 that did not happen. Going on to 2020, it was showing the neck-and-neck race against against Joe Biden and Donald Trump. You can believe whatever you want about the 2020 election, or whatever, but Donald Trump lost that race. Now the polls had Donald Trump up, Joe Biden won. Now there were some polls that showed Biden having a slight advantage, and they had some polls, they had polls going both ways. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not blaming this all on the polls. I'm just letting you know I don't trust polls. I haven't in years, and I got myself caught up in this red wave. Ladies and gentlemen, the Republican Party did not have a red wave last night. Now we are going to talk about it. The way it's looking right now, the Republicans are going to go ahead and take over the House of Representatives. All we need is 218 votes to take over the House of Representatives, unless you have liberals like Liz Cheney, and you have, I say liberals. Well, yeah, she's a liberal. I did not say wrong. You have liberals like Liz Cheney that acts like a Republican, but is not really a Republican, is a rhino. And that's where this majority thing slips up. But at the moment of this recording, there's 47 House seats still left in play. And the Republican Party picked up 7 seats in New York alone. So it is, some are saying about 220, 225, something of that nature. But ladies and gentlemen, we were brought to believe, and I was caught up in this. I would quote polls. I would say polls is leading here, polls are leading there. What about this poll? What about that poll? And I was bringing out polls. Now, like I said, I did come out a couple of days ago, but I still got caught up in this red wave movement. And ladies and gentlemen, everything pointed to that. Everything did point to a red wave. I read a post from Facebook earlier, and I think that really summed it up. It wasn't really a red wave. It was a pink sprinkle. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be blunt with you. This is how I feel about this midterm election right now. I am heartbroken. The reason being is because I'm trying to say this in the right way. How can a person be in the office of the presidency and the party that is in power is leading with high inflation? The economy's in a shamble. There's crisis at the border. And we still cannot get a red tsunami. We cannot take over the Senate because, and I'm going to talk more about this later on, but it's the Democrat Party wanted so much to scare you, the individual. We talked about this in the last episode. That, the MAGA Republicans are going to take away democracy if they win. Ladies and gentlemen, the MAGA Republicans are the ones that have been preserving the democracy. And look, I believe this. We're not a democracy. We're a republic. On this republic of which we stand, one nation under God, says in the Pledge of Allegiance. But ladies and gentlemen, this was not a red tsunami. This wasn't a red. And I was even quoted saying that. I hope this is a red tsunami. I think we're going to have a red tsunami. I think we're going to have a red wave. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm not the only pundit that is coming out today and saying that we were wrong. I looked at the polls. I'm not going to lie. I looked at polls and I was like, man, it looks like we're going to have a red. Now, there is some benefits. We will talk about this in a few minutes. Like, we will take over the House. On the Senate side, right now, according to Fox News, 49-48. There's still 3 states in play. There's Alaska, Nevada, and Arizona. Georgia has been taken out of play because the Secretary of State of Georgia went ahead and said we're going into a runoff. So December 6th, ladies and gentlemen, we will have a runoff in the state of Georgia. In all likelihood, it's probably going to come back down to Georgia. And if Georgia, now I'm thinking of this because I don't know if Fox News is counting Arkansas for the Republicans, but according to Matt, if and this is how I'm thinking, if Alaska and Nevada goes to Republican, that's 51. Like I said, I don't know how Fox News is having this. I don't know if the 49 is included with the 49. I'm not 100% sure. But ladies and gentlemen, can I say deja vu in the Senate? Because it looks like it's going back to Georgia to decide who with the Senate. I'm assuming, because that's the only way it fits, because they probably gave Alaska and they just haven't called it yet because Alaska has a weird voting system. So it's up to Nevada and Arizona. If that goes the way it's going right now, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna be at 49 or 50-49, and Georgia's gonna have to play. Georgia's gonna be in play to decide the outcome of the Senate. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the highlights of this midterm election for the Senate and the Congress, we're gonna gain the House. It is on track for that. We're hoping that this happens the way we're hoping. It goes to the House of Representatives, goes to the Republicans. So President Joe Biden's agenda will still be getting stopped. Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy has already been asking his colleagues, will you vote for me when we take over the House of Representatives? And I believe he's going to get that spot. The upside, you still have a 50-50 Senate. You're still going to have the filibuster. Now that's all. Now that's going to Nevada if Nevada flips. If Nevada doesn't flip, we are in trouble. But right now, it looks like we're going to go ahead and take Nevada. That's what a lot of people are saying. On the Senate side, like I said, we had some. I'm gonna go ahead and see if I could go Pennsylvania. We're gonna start off with there. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna talk a little bit about basement candidates in a little bit. I've learned a lot so this is the first time I did election coverage and was associated with a candidate to try to get him winning. And I noticed a lot of things in this next election. And we're going to talk about it. But Fetterman beat Oz. That was the state that was flipped. We have Brian Kelly in Massachusetts, only 66% of the votes that has come in right now. And Arizona is saying that it's probably going to take until Friday to get the results. Like I said, I got some notes I want to bring down in the second segment, and I'm going to go into the third segment probably with it. And I might even talk about President Biden's response, because he, right before recording, he went ahead and did a live speech. I didn't watch it, but I got a couple of articles that we can go ahead and read and reflect on what he says. Nevada right now, at the time of this recording, Lexon is winning in Nevada, and they, like I just said, he's winning by 2 percentage points. They're waiting on a few things. Also, the governor's race there is pretty tight. We're going to talk about governors in a second, because that is also a key role in this. But we're going to talk about Florida. Florida, the highlights of yesterday, the good points for us is Florida and Ohio. But right now, we are in a Senate battle. Like I said, 49-48 right now, and that is just, that is mind-boggling to me, ladies and gentlemen. Which I'm gonna go ahead and bring out my first vote. No, correction. Lost my train of thought for a second. Well, I'm gonna say it like this, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not gonna beat around the bush. I'm just gonna go ahead and be straightforward. This as a Republican and a conservative, this makes me feel low. It does. That these rates are, and especially leading up to this, the Republican Party and the pollsters. First off, that's a whole issue right there. The pollsters. The pollsters did not do their job. This rate, now they showed it was tight coming in, but a Real Clear Politics average had the Republicans winning 53 seats and blowing out the House of Representatives. That the House, at this time of this recording, the House isn't called, and we don't know what's going on in the Senate. There's a lot of issues right here, but this is really upsetting to me, because especially the Republican Party that ran on issues. And I'm trying to say it. Forgive me. It's discouraging. Let's put it mildly. This is discouraging. First off, when you have your hopes up high like that, which I should have known. Like I said, I do apologize, because I had my hopes up. Hey, this is gonna be a red tsunami. This is gonna be a red wave, and now it's not even a sprinkle, ladies and gentlemen. And like I said, we did have some highlights. They did have some good things in this midterm election. But especially the House, ladies and gentlemen. Look, like you can argue, and I've been hearing pundits all day. We have the House. We're still stopping the regime. Even Dan Bongino said, look, the hope that, we got the House. It might not be a lot, but we're going to be organized. We're going to be trying to bring up hope. And ladies and gentlemen, this is sad. The Democrat Party for the last 2 years have been crumbling this country. I don't care if you are a Democrat and you're trying to say, oh no, this is the greatest administration and greatest government ever. No, it's not. High inflation, high gas prices, high supply chains, high food costs, supply chain crisis. You have all kind of things that has happened. High crime. And ladies and gentlemen, the Republican Party can't go ahead and highlight this stuff to get back the country. I'm hey, look, if I'm President Biden, and we're going to talk about his speech later on, this isn't a win, but this ain't a bad loss either. And the best way I can compare it to is maybe a football game. I've watched tons of football in my life, and I remember watching games where it was supposed to be a blowout. I'm gonna mention the Saints, because the Saints have more blowouts than anything that I can remember. But there's games that I go with the mindset the Saints are gonna get blown out on, and they lose the game, but they maybe lose it by a field goal. 4 points, 2 points, 1 point, whatever. We're mad that we lost, but at the same time, we're like, well, it could have been worse. And that's how I feel the Democrats are operating today on. It could have been worse. We could have lost more seats. And if they lose the Senate and they lose the House, it's bad. It's going to be a lame duck presidency going on from now on. But ladies and gentlemen, this wasn't no red wave. Now, like I said, we're still waiting. And look, there's still hope. That is the hope. Closing out this segment, that is the hope. We still have hope. We still have on the Senate side. I'm not really worried because because 218, they're 206. They're only 12 seats away. There's 40-some seats in the House of Representatives that's still up for grabs. 9 out of 10 is going to go Republican. If it doesn't, I will be surprised. I will be. The Senate, however, we have a slim hope that these elections, the counting goes to the Republican way, because Kerry Lake is pretty tight with Hobbs. Masterson is about 4 points, 5 points different from at the time of this recording. Now, you're going to hear this on a Thursday morning, things that maybe change. But the Senate is still up for grabs. We just got to hope. We have hope. Nevada is probably going to turn red. Unless something major happens, like a busted pipe. Warnock and Walker are going into this runoff. So there's still hope, America. There's still hope that we could gain the House of Representatives and the Senate. But if we gain the House, we still can stop the Biden regime. I don't look at this as a win. I look at this more as a failure to get your message across. Oh, Isaac, but y'all possibly gonna win the Senate, and y'all gonna win the House. I understand we won, but going back to the football analogy, could you imagine being that football team that goes ahead and says, or is projected to win like 30-some points? Prime example. Let's Urban do this before time runs out. LSU and Alabama. That played a couple of weeks. LSU won the game by 1 point. They won. Now, different scenario. They beat the top team, whatever. But Alabama was supposed to win that game 15, 20 points. That's what the bookies in Las Vegas said. But just imagine a different scenario. Now, I know as an LSU fan, I would have been upset. But just imagine if they wouldn't have made that 2-point conversion. And Alabama would have walked out of there. Alabama was projected to win big. But they only won by 1 point. Now, Nick Saban would have been happy with the win. But I tell you, he would have been like, boys, we got work to do. Y'all almost led a team that's worse than us, supposedly. Almost beat us. Oh, no, that's not going to work. I think the Republican Party needs work. With that being said, we'll be right back after this short break. How you doing, everyone? Isaac here. I'm the Cajun Conservative, and I want to thank Brother Lanny Hayes from Hayes' Dump Truck Service for their generous support of the Cajun Conservative and Brothers Just Searching. Hayes' Dump Truck Service serves the Lafayette and surrounding areas. If you have any job that you need done, like cleanup or hauling material to your job site or your home, we haul limestone, we haul sand, we haul topsoil, any type of material you need. If you're in the Lafayette and surrounding areas, please call Brother Lanny Hayes at 337-852-8043. Remember, Hayes' Dump Truck Service, where Jesus is Lord of the company.
Us with your blood, cleansed and made us whole. Not one hoof, not one soul.
All right, so just read this. Fox News projects that one of the two Republicans will prevail in Alaska Senate race. This is factored in our balance of power calculation, so that 49 is Republicans. There is a funny way that Alaska, they put everybody in, they vote, whoever's the last one, they get pulled out. Then they do weird. Alaska's weird. I hope I'm not offending none of my conservative family in Alaska. It's just the only benefit about this, Lisa Murkowski's probably done. So that is, I as the song, every time I talk about this, I hear that song, Another One Bite the Dust. So Lisa Murkowski is probably gone from Alaska, and she won't be in the Senate no more. Now, that was a Trump appointee and all that stuff. So I want to go ahead and talk about some of the other highlights. The governor's races. We had some high-profile governor races. Wisconsin. Correction. Yeah, Wisconsin is one. Evers beat Michaels. 99% is reported in at the time of this recording. Michigan, Wilmer did beat Dixon by 11, close to 10%, and 98% of it's coming in. So the Democrats took them seats. Ohio, Delwin beat Wiley by 30 points. And Florida, DeSantis crushed Chris. And if there was a red wave last night for this election, ladies and gentlemen, it was done in Florida. Florida, for the first time in a long while, it's all red. All their statewide offices are red. There's no blue in the state of Florida. Same with Ohio. It's not blood red, but it's red. Because at the same time, we didn't talk about it in the last. That is a highlight. J.D. Vance did win in great fashion, and it was J.D. Vance took over the lead late into the race, and he is now going to be the senator going to Washington. On other races, Abbott beat O'Rourke. Yay! Beto O'Rourke lost. Now, ladies and gentlemen, he's a failed Senate candidate. Now he's a failed governor candidate. Fox News, I think it's Fox News. Somebody wrote an article saying it was 3 strikes you're out. So this must have been the third election that he's a failed candidate. So Abbott is going to be the governor of Texas for the third term. Now let's go to Georgia. Kemp beat Abrams. Abrams is a second-time failed gubernatorial candidate. And it wasn't neck and neck. She could not say, well, this probably was solely because of voter suppression. She lost this race by 8 points. 8 points. Kemp stays the governor of Georgia. We're going to go ahead and look into the Oregon gubernatorial race, which is tight. This will be a first time that a Republican had a chance. Only at the time of this recording, 68%. It is a subject to change by the time you listen to this episode, but only 2 percentage points. So Oregon, a Democrat state, the state right above Nevada and California, has a possibility of being red. Arizona, Hobbs is beating Lake by a slim majority. But as I just said, Friday, the day after this episode releases, Arizona said they might go ahead and get the votes in there. Nevada, Labordo, the famous sheriff in Nevada, is winning by 5 points right now. I'm surprised nobody has called that seat. And there's 77% in there. Now, they might be waiting for some stuff we don't know. So, now, on this note, I'm going to go ahead. Let me bring that point out first. The red wave in Florida, the red wave in Ohio, that will probably be the only thing I can say had a red wave. Ladies and gentlemen, Florida is key. Florida is key to the presidential election. Also, Ohio. Texas is red. Ladies and gentlemen, a lot of people are trying to say Texas is turning blue. Now, I want to say this right here. The Hispanic vote helped out in those 3 states. The Hispanic vote in Florida and in Texas and in Arizona and Nevada is also playing a factor. Right now, more Hispanics are voting for Republican than they are Democrat. There are congressional races that were down at the border, three of the big districts that have a Hispanic influence. 2 of them went red, if I'm not mistaken. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has played a key part. This is showing that legal Hispanics, or Hispanics that vote at least, don't like inflation. They don't like high crime. They don't like, and they're helping out. And look, DeSantis, let's talk about that governor's race for a second. DeSantis won by 20 points. Never heard of in the Florida. Florida's always a tight-knit race. I heard Dan Bongino say this earlier, that if you win by 1% in Florida, you're victorious. That was a good night. Ladies and gentlemen, DeSantis won by 20. He also won one of the most heavy Hispanic districts in Florida. This was a red wave. Now, with these governor's races and what I talked about the Senate races and the congressional races lead me to a couple of things I want to talk about right now. One, let's talk about Ron DeSantis. 20 points is impressive. We just talked about this. I'm going to make this claim right here. And I have said this on the air before. If Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump are in a primary, I'm voting Ron DeSantis. I could not stand Trump right now, especially with his nickname about Ron DeSantis and trying to prove to people that he's up 70% of an opposed. First question comes to mind. If you're up 70%, why you even have to mention his name? Ladies and gentlemen, this proves right here that Ron DeSantis and his style of government is the path forward for the Republican Party. I'm not sitting here and I'm not saying that Donald Trump can't run. I'm going to say this, though. I hope he does not run. Talking to my good friend Iggy Esteban on our live lecture coverage last night, and he said that, do we want another 80-year-old man in office? Well, Donald Trump's more intelligent than Biden, and he's more healthier than Biden. I don't care. I don't care if it was my own grandfather running for president at 80 years old. I don't think an 80-year-old man should be running. If the government advises 65 men and women to retire at the age of 65, why encourage 80-year-old men and women to run for president or any type of government? Just think about this, ladies and gentlemen. We in the Senate and in the House, on both sides of aisles, we have old people. I'm not against old people. Please do not think that in the wrong way. But ladies and gentlemen, the government advises people to retire at the age of 65. But there's people 80 years old, like Nancy Pelosi. Do you honestly think it's a good idea for Nancy Pelosi to be in the House of Representatives at the age of 80-some years old? Come on, man. Some of these people on both sides of the aisle. I'm just not talking about the left. I'm talking about the right as well. Some of these people have been in here, as the term I heard earlier, since the Flickstones have been here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I'm saying about Trump. I agree with Iggy on this. I don't think we should have an 80-year-old man in office. As I just said, though, Ron DeSantis is the party's future. Ron DeSantis, governors like Brian Kemp. I did not agree with Brian Kemp on certain things in 2020, but blew Stacey Abrams out the water. Greg Abbott blew Beto O'Rourke out the water. Why? One thing, they looked out for their state. They showed their state what they done, and the state trusts in them. All three of them, ladies and gentlemen. Texas, Florida, and Georgia all went for governor. Now, look, on a side note, they didn't deal with Trump. So now people can ask the question, well, is Trump to blame for the midterm that we did not have a red wave? No, because as Trump said earlier, out of all the candidates that he endorsed right now, only 19 has lost. They may be more. But the Trump-backed candidates did struggle. Herschel Walker, tight race. He struggled. It's a tight race, though. We knew that was going to be tight. That's one thing the polls said right. Kerry Lake right now is losing in Arizona. Nevada's candidate is winning, but that's because of the governor's race. And that you can go across the board. Trump candidates, Blake Masters, and in Arizona, struggling against an incumbent Democrat. And look, ladies and gentlemen, Florida is a fine-tuned machine right now because of Ron DeSantis. I think, and look, I'm not against Trump. I have already said that. I think Trump should say, hey, I'm going to endorse candidates. But one of the reasons Trump, I'm listening, I've studied on this, and I thought about this all day. Trump needs to stop living in the past and go to his future. If Trump does win, and look, I heard someone that was talking about Trump, always talking about the 2020 election, how he believes it was illegitimate and unfair, and it was stolen from him and all that. Okay, I understand him thinking that, but he's dwelling on that way too much. And candidates are trying to pick that up because the people think that's good. Ladies, I hope I'm one of the first ones. I saw a 2024 flag flying the other day for Trump, and I'm like, why are you worried about 2024 when we got 2022? I told people months ago, worry about 2022. Don't worry about 2024 right now. But Trump is living in the past. He's dwelling on 2020, and he needs to stop. You know why Trump won in 2016? He used the same method as Ron DeSantis, Greg Abbott, and Brian Kemp used in this election. This is what we done. This is what we're going to do, and we care about you. Trump went on the campaign trail and said, look, I'm not a politician, so I haven't done anything special. I'm just a multimillionaire, but I'm going to build a wall. I'm going to go ahead and stop legal immigration. I'm going to stop crime. Trump made promises, and Trump in the re-election ran on them promises. Now, we have some shenanigans in Arizona and everything like that with ballots and long wait times and everything. Yeah, I agree that. I think that. But at the same time, ladies and gentlemen, Trump is dwelling on that. Trump needs to stop. Ron DeSantis, Greg Abbott, and Brian Kemp pointed to the future, and they won in landslides. Now, what goes on to my next point, as what I'm going to talk about right here, I just mentioned Florida's a fine-tuned machine. Their votes were in. We were doing the live show, and before the live show even started, DeSantis was called. They pre-count their they pre-count their early votes. They don't release the results. And when the time ends, they already count the votes. They can count the end-day votes. Georgia was called. The Senate race was called today at the time, like a few hours before this recording. But the governor's race was called last night. I was surprised. Texas was called. All these states right here I just mentioned, and multiple other ones as well, fine-tuned machines on voting. They count their votes. They get it right. Ladies and gentlemen, we live in the United States of America. How come Arizona, we don't know who won the Senate race and the governor's race in Arizona? Nevada. Now, let me go back to Arizona for a second. Arizona mentioned today. We're probably going to not know until Friday all the results and counting all the votes. Why Florida did it good and why Arizona can't do that? And the second question, you have a lady running for governor that's the Secretary of State right now, Kathy. Let me make sure I'm correct on her name. Don't want to make sure her name is correct. I know her last name's Hobbs. But Hobbs is running. Oh, no, that's the Senate one. Doggone it. Wrong button again. There we go. Hobbs is the Secretary of State in the state of Arizona. And they ran out of paper at certain ballots. And also, 20% of their machines broke down. Ladies and gentlemen, do you want that as your... Now, the election's over, but do you want that as governor? Please don't take it that way. Want that? Forgive me if I said it wrong. Do you want someone like that running your governor, your state? Ladies and gentlemen, we live in the United States of America. We're the beacon of hope. We're the beacon of freedom. And we have states that live in the dark ages. And don't get me wrong, majority of this is blue states. That's a hint on that. And ladies and gentlemen, Florida blew me away last night. That was a highlight of the night. Them, Texas, and Georgia. And I wish more states would take after Florida. Because I promise you, if we would go ahead and build a system like Florida, this waiting of 3 or 4 days, 20 days, whatever, to find out who won for election, it wouldn't happen, in my humble opinion. With that being said, I'm going to be taking a break. I'll be right back after this short break, and I'll be back in a few minutes.
Cheers and good on you, boys and girls. My name is Scott Ford, and I have a show on Rumble. It's the Scott Ford Show, all in one word, the Scott Ford Show, and it's on Rumble. And I also have a motivational success show on YouTube. So go ahead and subscribe and ring that bell. That would mean a lot to me. Enjoy your life. Thank you, Isaac. God bless.
You're my peace of mind. When this old world seems to get me down.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the last segment of the Cajun Conservative Show for today. President Joe Biden goes ahead and talks about, and I heard this, that he was going to talk about this midterm election, and Fox News went ahead and wrote a report. And it says, Biden says red wave didn't happen. Americans voted to preserve democracy, protect the right to choose. Ladies and gentlemen, from the president from the White House said he would reach across the aisle and work with Republicans in Congress, but vowed to veto any attempt to pass a national ban on abortion and to block any cuts or changes to Social Security and Medicaid. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to stop right there for a second. Did any one of you hear a Republican say he was going to cut Medicaid and cut Social Security? Nope, still snotted. They're still running with that lie. He's also still running with the lie that Americans cast about to preserve democracy. Well, the thing of it is, democracy was not at risk. Democracy is at risk when you want to change the filibuster to be a dictator and pass things that you want passed without having to face the filibuster or work with the Republican Party. Now, this is what Biden also said, the election day, a good day for America. He said the red wave didn't happen, and the cast their vows to preserve democracy and protect the right to choose in this country, while saying he intended to run for re-election in 2024. So, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, first off, he brings out the lie of Social Security and Medicaid, and also to preserve the democracy. He did say they did protect the right to choose. If you're talking about pro-choicers, the pro-choicers, however, went ahead and, they come out. It was like the second most important subject on the ballot. They had under 30s that voted for GOP, but there was a lot of Generation Zs that went ahead and voted because of this. That's what they wanted. They wanted to stop Roe v. Wade from being overturned. It didn't happen, so now they want to stop Dobbs. So he's right on that issue. But ladies and gentlemen, as we said, was it a red wave? I'm not going to call it a red wave. I call it a pink sprinkle, because it wasn't as big as we thought it was going to be. But ladies and gentlemen, also I want to say this about the president in his remarks, and this is briefly. He also said he's going to probably announce if he's running early next year. And so we're gonna see if he really wants to run for re-election in 2024. I don't think he will. I still don't think he will. But let's go back to the point right here, though. It's kind of funny. This isn't a red wave. The Republicans took over the House. They're possibly going to take over the Senate. This isn't a red wave, according to the to the president. That ain't a red wave. Only 5-6 seats. How dare you say that's a red wave? But remember in 2020, when the Democrats took over the House of Representatives. Well, even in 2018, and it was only by a mere margin of votes that the Democrat Party took over the House of Representatives. And you remember they all went about, oh, a blue wave. Oh, we took over this blue. Oh, we took over. This is a great blue wave. And I was like, no, it's not. Like I'm doing now. Last night was not a red wave. It was a pink sprinkle. Yes, we took over the House. Yes, we probably going to take over the Senate, but it was not a blue wave. A blue wave would have been us taking 3 seats in the Senate and taking 20, 30 seats in the House of Representatives. It's not happening. But the president, that ain't a red wave. And I agree with him. It wasn't. But please don't come from 2 years ago and say that was a blue wave when it wasn't. On that note, I want to go ahead and get some opinions out of the way right here. And this is just observing elections last night. And I'm going to break this down for this last final segment. And then we're going to wrap this up and we get to go home. So I want to talk about a few things that, like I said, I just saw. One, it's funny how all these blue states are taking their time to count the votes. This happens all the time. We briefly talked about this with Florida. Florida being a fine-tuned machine it is. Knew who was going to be the governor, knew who the Senate was, and knew all their congressional seats within 2 hours. Ladies and gentlemen, that's efficient. And people are going to go ahead and say, well, Ron DeSantis ain't efficient. Ron DeSantis, as I was hearing one guy call on a radio show earlier, Ron DeSantis is going to be proven for the fraud that he is. The truth's going to come out. What? That his state is prospering? One of the only states that are prospering in America right now? But almost all the majority of the red states, they know who their elected officials coming up in 2023 is. But we still have blue states counting votes, like California right now, for the congressional seats. They're still counting. Arizona, they're still counting. We're not going to know until Friday. Why all these blue states? Nevada, why are these blue states taking so long? Either it's inefficient or it's done on purpose. And I'm going to leave it right there, ladies and gentlemen. Why is this taking so long? I also want to know, I saw this last night, and this is I'm briefly through. This is the stuff I seen, thought about this morning, and I really want to go ahead and just give you my thoughts. How do you, and look, I don't know where you're from. If you're listening to this podcast, I know you can be all over the world. You could be listening in Georgia, Alabama, Pennsylvania. You can be listening in some of the states this was at. And I really would like to ask a question to all my listeners this. How do you vote for one Republican and not the other? Prime example last night in the Georgia race, and this is what really got it out. Now, I talked to my good friend Roger, and we brought this out. Does the difference? I don't know. But Herschel Walker is barely hanging on for his life. This race is going into a runoff. It's going to be December 6th. I believe the Libertarian candidate did play a role in that. He picked up 3% of the votes at the last time I looked. And that hurt Herschel Walker and hurt Ron Warnock. Because if he was not in that scenario, we would know who would be the senator of Georgia right now. I do believe that. But I looked at that race, and Warnock and Walker are close. But Brian Kemp wins by 5. They asked Brian Kemp that early, and he said, look, I don't know how the voters, why they did that. But me personally, okay, if I'm going, unless it's a real obvious situation where I don't like the Republican in certain local races, I'm going to talk something about later on. Unless it's real obvious and I know something, I'm going to go into that voting booth voting Republican. And look, it could be because, some people explained it earlier. Well, it could be that they wanted to split it. They wanted the House and House of Representatives to be Republican and the Democrats to hold the Senate. And if somebody thinks like that, by the way, you know how government works. Oh, Republicans get the House of Representatives and the Democrats get the Senate. They have to work together. No, they don't. They're their own entities. They form their own bills. Now they need each other to pass certain legislation, but there's certain things the Senate does and the House does exclusively, and those are important. But like I said, I go in there and I vote for Republicans, especially Georgia. Okay, I just going in there and say I'm going to vote Brian Kemp, but I'm going to vote Warnock all for the Senate. How you do this? And look, you're the voter. You made that decision. I want to know the thought process. It happened in Vermont too, as well, ladies and gentlemen. The Democrat governor blew the water out. He won in Vermont. Vermont wasn't a big state that a lot of people didn't know, but the Senate candidate, I believe, went to the Republican. It's a purple state. I'm like, what the? Or vice versa, something of that nature. Who goes in there saying I'm going to vote Democrat and vote Republican? That's just mind-boggling to me. Who does that? If you're going to go ahead and vote for... And look, the Democrats have proven they mess everything up. And the Republicans, you don't put your whole faith in them. At least they do a little better than the Democrats. I don't... Another observer that I had, the President of the United States and every mainstream media, every outlet, every Democrat I heard, we might have to wait days and days. And this also goes to how blue states are taking their time voting, unless it's for a Democrat. And look, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm just observing and I'm asking questions. Blue states take their time when they might not win. But when they're winning, projections at mainstream media, and they count their votes real fast. Proven point right here. Last night, Mehmet Oz and John Fetterman's race was called at 1:30 in the morning. The last time Pennsylvania was in a election, we didn't know who was the president for almost 4 days because they had to count the absentee ballots. If you remember, it took days and days and days until we knew that Joe Biden won Pennsylvania. But it's kind of funny. John Fetterman takes a slight lead, and at 1 o'clock in the morning, Fox News, CNN, Political, my phone's blowing up. At 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm up. John Fetterman wins. And I'm looking at him like, there's only 83%. Now it's at the last time I looked was like 95. But it's kind of funny. All of a sudden, they didn't need to worry about the votes that were coming in. So, and my question, what happened to taking days to know who won in Pennsylvania? It's not there. We know John Fetterman won. Now, Dr. Oz did concede. But ladies and gentlemen, why it like that? What happened? Pennsylvania not worried about the mail-in ballots that are coming in? Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Wolf is the governor, and he's a Democrat. I think he also won last night as well. Look, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Please, fact checkers. He's election denier. No. I'm not taking. Look, I believe Fetterman won, and I can go through a whole. I don't know why Pennsylvania would vote Fetterman. If you take away the stroke, he's against fracking. He's against. He wants to get rid of the filibuster. He wants to do everything that Biden wants to do. He's a yes man for Biden. That's all he is. Now, if you put the factor of the stroke, he is not physically able to do his job. If you watch him in a debate with Dr. Oz. And look, that played a factor in as well. But if you watch that debate, this man stood up for an hour and could not hardly talk at the end of it. How you expect him to debate on a Senate floor and do his job as a senator in his condition? And also what he's going to do bad for the country if he's a yes man. Now, this is a whole nother thing too. And I think I have. No, I don't have it, but that is a point I need to bring out. The early voting that is brought into question as well. Ladies and gentlemen, do you know that early voting started in October for Pennsylvania in the beginning? They have a whole month to early vote. The debate was on October 25th. You know how many ballots were cast? And you know how many people said we wish we could take back our vote? Because the media did a great job hiding Featherman's condition. And people say the media doesn't have an agenda. Come on, man. Really? But I'll just asking, because, Featherman, when Featherman was called by all the mainstream media, Pennsylvania's not worried about absentee ballots or mail-in ballots no more, apparently. And it wasn't going to take days and days. If it was going to take days, why didn't the media say, look, we're going to wait 2 or 3 days to make sure those numbers are correct? Oh, if you remember, also in Pennsylvania, they had some shenanigans going on. 7 o'clock in the morning, they changed the rules, how to count votes. Also, throughout the day, there was judges fighting with each other. All right, moving on. This is really going to tick me off, and this is two of the same point right here. And then we're going to go ahead and wrap it up with our last thought for the day. Political candidates sitting in their basement and winning their elections. I went ahead and quoted. I quoted earlier on my Facebook page. And I brought out this point about certain candidates. Now, it really hit home for me on a local election. Because on that note, ladies and gentlemen, go vote in your local elections and be aware of who you're voting for in your local elections. Because, like I said, I was part of a local election going into this election cycle, and my eyes were open to a lot of things. But anyway. And this isn't, I'm gonna use 3 examples. One, I'm not gonna mention names, but we had a local election here where 2 candidates bust their rear end to go door to door and to show people their agendas, their vision. While one candidate decided not to go to the media, not to go to events or cancel events and not speak to nobody and show up here, there, and a little bit everywhere. When the votes tally came out, guess who won? The person that hardly did diddly squat, in my humble opinion. Now he had the backing of the local mayor of the town. He had a lot of candidates, and it was on name recognition, basically. But because of his name in the group, let's say it like this: the mayor campaigned more for him than he did. That's my observing. I'm just being blunt. Let's go to a state level. Now, not Louisiana, but let's go to Hobbs in Virginia, in Arizona. Hobbs didn't even want to debate Lake. She didn't want to be around. She hardly went to campaign events, the same as the local elections. Last time we checked, dead heat tie in Arizona. They don't know who's going to win that race. But Hobbs was winning big time. Now let's go back to Featherman. We talk about Featherman caught his stroke, and now I believe that's why he stayed in his basement. But Featherman, if he was good, just basically, if he felt good, he should have campaigned. No, he didn't. For a while, he didn't go to public events. If he went to public events, he talked for 5 minutes, and then he left. Look, I understand his condition. He needs to recover from his stroke. But if you're recovering from a stroke, you shouldn't be on the campaign trail. You should take your name out of the ring. That's my opinion. And that is also another state election, but the two were nationalized. The people knew about it. Now we can go to the president of the United States. How Joe Biden won? Joe Biden kept his mouth shut and didn't say a thing and only showed up for a few minutes at a time. And if you look at it right here, did you see Biden on the campaign trail? See, Biden also made in his speech that it was his agenda. That's why people didn't go vote Republican, because of his agenda. People like his agenda. No, we don't. No, we don't. The reason you weren't on the campaign trail with other Democrats was because they don't like you. The American people do not like you. 70% of Americans think the country's going in the wrong way. But I just mentioned 4 candidates, and look, this ticked me off when I seen this last night. Now I'm thinking to myself, these 4 people, local, states, and federal, politicians running from their basement. Why? Because they don't want to answer the tough questions. And this is why I say this, ladies and gentlemen. You need to know who your candidates are. You need to know who your candidates are. If you don't know who your candidates are, and you don't know, oh, I know him. He's been my best friend or my friend since middle school, and I think he would do a good job, and don't know none of his visions. You're going to be duped. Why the town's bad? Why the state bad? Why the nation's bad? Because you voted for people that did not give you their agenda. And I call you what Rush Limbaugh used to call people that didn't know what was going on. Low information voters. Voting for people because you know them, or because of their name, or because they have a D behind their name or an R. I will tell Republicans that if you just vote for people that are Republicans because I'm a Republican, you have an issue. You're a low information voter. My last point, wrapping up all this, and this is a recap of what I saw in the election and the response from the president and all this. And I just wrote this note. America is in trouble. Why? Because we're a nation divided. It has been proven in the last two elections. Our Senate is 50-50, possibly going Republican, but it can stay 50-50. Our House of Representatives has a slim majority of Democrats right now. Hopefully in 2023, it is a slim majority for the right, the Republicans. But ladies and gentlemen, if you look at the line of our republic right now, we're a divided nation. And how that old saying says, united we stand, divided we fall. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to have a hard 2 years because of division. America is in trouble because more people are voting on party lines, are voting on one issue like abortion. Oh my goodness! They try to stop abortion. I got to vote to stop them. And they're not looking at the economy. They're not looking at nothing else. But they're looking at one thing. That is low information voters. And because you're low information voters, guess what? America's in trouble. And I'm going to say this, and I've said it multiple times. The only way we get out of this trouble is if America turns back to God. And he's the only one that can help us out right now. I'm praying for this nation, ladies and gentlemen. And look, like I said, my heart's troubled right now. But I'm going to tell you this. Greater is he's in me than he that is in the world. That's why I tell you, never be faint of heart, because Jesus has overcome the world. So on that note, thank you for listening to the Cajun Conservative Show. It's an honor and a blessing, as always, to be with you. Please go hit the subscribe button. Please hit the share button. Go ahead and like us on Facebook. Go subscribe us on Rumble. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors all about the Cajun Conservative Show. Remember, Jesus Christ is coming back. He's coming back soon. So don't be faint of heart about the elections, because Jesus has already overcome the world in that. Until next time, be blessed, be encouraged. Trust in Jesus as your personal Lord and Savior. You have a good rest of your week.
And he is the open